course I had the bloody camera switched off at a great moment. I've got the proper pin. It seems a bit of a cop-out, you know, you just go and get one, but they are a funny thickness pin. So I'm just going to put the bar through here again. And just make sure that that's tightened up just a hair more. There we go. That's going to go through there. Just trying to think which is the best position to tighten it up from. And now we can simply pull our rag out. I bet you like that. You like that, don't you? There. That's how it should go in. See? Now, I'm going to just tap it down, just make sure it's down. And then we're going to knock that leg over. Oops. There we go. That's on. Next. Like I say, I don't know what the torque is for these. I'm going to just put a socket on, nip them up, and see what it feels like. Oh, that's nice. You sort of turn it so it lines up on one of the tab washers, you know. Alright. That's a ½ inch, that bloody thing, isn't it? I remember that now. It's a bloody ½ inch. All the nuts are metric except for that one. All the nuts are actually, all the fittings are Whitworth, except for that one. There we go. Pair of pliers. Maybe not. Maybe the crowfoot just to get them started. That one's particularly tricky. Where's our dismantling tool? Don't need that anymore. One, two, right. I was just looking, while I was looking for bits and pieces, I must have gone mental years ago because I've got bags and bags of these genuine Land Rover ones. You know, there's all sorts of stuff in here. O-ring for L, I don't even know what that is. Right, so now we can put the front cover on. So we'll find our Hylamar again. Where did that go? Oh, it's here. This time we're going to put, because this is a thin gasket, we're just going to put some Hylamar on this face and then pop the gasket on. like that. The thickness, the wall thickness, if you can see here, is very, very thin. You know, and sort of no wonder joints leak, because there's sort of no meat on them. Right, we'll pop that gasket onto there, line it up with the dowels, like so. And then give it another coating. The one nice thing about the Hylamar is if it gets inside your gearbox, it doesn't really matter, because it mixes with the oil quite nice, if you see what I mean. If it was silicone, then bits can dry and drop off inside, and then you can block oilways and things like that. Right, so now we can assemble this piece. Slide it over the studs, and now we have to find all the nuts. Now, if I seem to remember right, there was no washers on this. So again, there's no torque values for this. Just going to have to use our judgment, tighten them down. Don't use a gun. You can see use the gun to take them apart, but not to put them back together again. And you can, I don't know if you can see, but you can. Yeah, I can see the Hylamar starting to squidge out of here, so that's good. So we'll give those a nip up evenly. That's nice. And then we'll look for the other ones. They are here somewhere. Where are they? There's another one missing somewhere. Oh, I think I might have put it in the other ducket. I'll go and find that nut. With the nut located, just going to spin them down. The top ones hold the top pinion bearing in, but the bottom ones are just into aluminium, so don't go sort of manic with them, if you see what I mean. So what I'm saying is the top ones, I've got like a fork round the back that pulls the bearing in, so it does like 2 or 3 different things. So these you don't have to go too mental with. Cleaners come out of there, get that mopped up. Now, I think I'm going to just disappear for a quick cup of tea, and then we'll see the next job. We'll put these selectors together. The selectors are usually pretty good, but we need to replace the rings on here first. The little rubber rings, they were all dry, so we've got to replace those. But I think it's going to be alright. Well, I know it's going to be alright, never mind think. Right, okay, so let's do that. Let's go and have a quick break, and then we'll come back and fit all this together. The next thing we're going to do, before we do anything else, is we're going to replace these seals on here which are not sealing. In order to do that, we've got to undo the pinch bolt here. This is 1/4 Whitworth. Slide off the selector, the fork, pull the arm out, pull the rod out, seal on, and that's it. So I'm just gonna put that in the vise. Nothing much really to show you, but I'll do one. Now this is really important. You put the soft jaws in your vise to grab this shaft, because you don't want to put any marks on it at all. So get a 1/4 Whitworth spanner and take that bolt out completely. Sorry for the background mess, but busy shop. And try to do this, you know, at the same time, if you see what I mean. Don't like take it apart and then throw the bits on the vise, on the bench, should I say. So take that off, because otherwise you'll lose stuff. So slide that off, seal off, seal on, slide it back on. Now the pinch bolt goes into that slot there. See, then put that back in here. Now there is a little bit of adjustment to do that. We'll sort of work that out on the top. We'll tighten it down as much as we can. So we'll just nip it like that for now. A little bit loose, you see. We'll sort that out in the box now. Just out of interest, there are two seals the same, but the reverse gear for some strange reason is bigger. This is the seal that come off. You can see how brittle it is. There's the one that goes back on. So that's why we changed them. So I'm going to change all the rest of the seals and then we'll come back. So with all the seals changed, we're going to now fit these forks, selectors. The only difference is what's this one? Second, third? First and second, sorry, has got a stopper on the end. We'll set that up later. But sometimes people forget this tab washer. Sometimes you can use them again. Just be careful of that. Just because all the lock washers aren't sold in a kit for some bizarre reason. I don't know why. So what we're going to do is start off by putting the in reverse order as we put it in. And the last one we took out is the first one we put in, and we put it in the third and fourth. So we slide the selector forward, put the fork in, and then we slide that forward. You see what I mean? There. You heard it click? Right. Remember that. So then we pull that out, and then we've got to try and hook on the back the first and second, and then this gets a bit tricky because of the way the gearbox lies. Let's see if we can just put that cover. Maybe not. Like that. That's better. Now. So again, a little bit loose, get the seal up to where it wants to be, and try and select that inside. It's quite easy to see, alright, and then move that across. Keep moving them across. This is the tricky one, the difficult one, the reverse. Now it is possible to see it. You might need a long screwdriver. Slide it forwards. This is the awkward thing, because that's not quite high enough. Because the gears slide down the shaft if it's not straight. So bring it forward, and then like I say, in reverse order, hook onto that, hook onto the gear. It's tricky. Now, did that get it? No. It went behind. Now it's got it. That's the difficult one. Get yourself a flashlight. Once you see inside, it's quite easy. Oh, let me take the camera off and see if I can show you. It's quite difficult to see. It's alright for me, I can see it here. Can you see down there? Ah, how's that? Is that better? You can see the fork is between the gears. I wish I had something better, you know. Well, I'll move that around. Ah, there we go. There we can see it there, look. See the forks between the two gears? That one's in at the back. This one's there. So now, that's happy. So now we lift it up and put the seals in the grooves. You do not put any sealer on these, because if you put sealer thinking it's going to be a great help, what will happen is it will jam up the selection. It really will. Right, I'm going to oh, there you go. So that's that. Now, the thing is, now we can play around with these here. This is why we didn't do the pinch bolts, because these have got to be nice and together, if you see what I mean. It doesn't make any sense, does it? But they need to be a nice floating fit between each other. You see what I mean? If we'd nipped them up earlier, we'd never get them done. So now is the time we're going to tighten up those bolts. So the next thing we're going to do is going to put the interlock tubes into there, or bearings, or whatever you want to call them. Where's the other one? There we go. Now at this stage we're only going to put the long ones in. We're not going to put the little ones in, we'll put them in last. So they're going to there. Now you can actually, if you want, play around with these and make sure they're going to gear and make sure everything's working right. But I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it again. Next thing, oh, we need the cover, don't we? So, the next thing we do, we've put a little bit of sealer on this cover, not much, just a little dab. We don't want the sealer to get into the springs or the shafts. That's literally all we need. We don't need much more than that. That there is the little stop for the first and second selector. And make sure we've got the right cover, because remember we've made one gearbox out of two, so we've got to get the right part. So we're going to fit that on. We'll get it the right way around. Wow, look at that, fits like a glove. And tighten up the bolts. Now you should have the gear stick on, but we haven't got that yet, so we're going to use this. I'll tighten these bolts up. Right, so with the cover on and tightened down, the next thing we're going to do is put these balls in here, the selector balls, drop them in, push the spring in, oops, put the spring in, and then fasten down this brass cap. There's no copper washer on there, that's all you're going to get. So give that a nip down. And then we have to do the difficult ones, the tricky ones, and then that's about it for this box. We'll set it up later, do a few adjustments, but that's basically it. Right, spring. These little things are handed. Oh, shit. They go only on one way. You can't put them on the opposite way around because they won't line up properly. See what I mean? So which is which? Which is which? Is that one? That one? Yeah. They've got a little corner cut out here to correspond with the gearbox, so that's how they go. We want the spring. We want the ball. Put the ball in. The spring in. And then we put some new rubber seals on. We don't need any sealer on those. And we get the bolts. Now this is why you've got to be strong and you've got to push these in with your fingers because you've got to work against the spring. The springs on these were quite good, so there's no need to replace everything. Tighten them down. Where is my spanners? So do the back one up first, because you won't be able to get into it. Then push the other one on. That's it. We'll tighten those down, I'll do the other side, and then tomorrow I'll have a look for the gear stick and we'll shift it around a bit. I had to disappear for supper rather quickly last night, so I missed a few bits out, so I'm going to do it now again just to show you some bits because I was just sort of against time. So we need to put the sump plug back into the gearbox, but I haven't got any epoxy, but I've got these little magnets here that are just epoxy into the plug, so don't forget that. I'm gonna do that later, but for now, to stop the oil pouring out, because I feel a bit of engine oil in the oil can. Bloody stuff's pouring out all over the place. So I'm just going to put. Oh, that's not right one. I'm just going to put the plug in temporary. There we go. I knew I'd get it right in there. Stop the oil coming out. I'm just going to sort of nip it, I'm not going to tighten it. Oh, damn. More paper towel.